Unscripted.
Unshackled.
Uncouth.
What you're about to hear is for mature ears only.
It's Miguel Fuller.
I would show anything. I'd show my hee-hee and my hoo-hoo and my ha-ha.
Holly O'Connor.
Hey, Daddy, you want to take this to the bedroom?
And Scotty the Body.
I am officially not only the girl daddy, but I'm a hot girl daddy.
Oh, wow.
It's the Miguel and Holly Uncensored podcast.
Only from Hot 101.5, Tampa Bay's new hit music.
Hello, and welcome to the Friday edition of Miguel and Holly Uncensored.
Hello.
I am pulling up a question that a Miguel and Holly fan member wanted me to ask on the podcast.
Oh, good.
Question. That was one of my
Yeah.
spelling words this week.
Question.
She messed. I don't think she's going to get it right. Maybe. But she messed it up every time we practiced. It's a tough one.
That's a tough one.
She kept wanting to put an H or an S. I mean, not where the S usually goes. Anyway.
I remember when I really had to I don't know. I feel like for me, there was this time when I was in elementary school, early elementary school, when you're just doing what people tell you to do when it comes to learning, and when you actually understand that you're learning
Yeah.
and you take it more seriously. And I remember being at a PTA meeting when the teacher was just trying to tell my mom that Miguel's not learning. I don't understand. And my mom was just frustrated because there wasn't a lot of knowledge at that time about kids that learn differently.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I remember the teacher pulled out a spelling test and was like, Miguel can't spell people. And my mom was like, why can't you spell people? I don't understand. We worked on it. I don't know what else to do. And I feel she just didn't know what else to do. She was frustrated
Yeah.
because she was really trying to help me. And so, but that's one of those words that ever since that moment, I was like, P-E-O-P-L-E. I know how to spell people.
That's
People.
why I was surprised. Isn't that weird? Everybody has one of those words
Right.
where I couldn't get. I think some kid slipped me the answer in class. And forevermore, I was like, I got it now. S-U-R-P-R-I-S-E.
Yeah. Surprise.
Surprise.
I still mess up restaurant sometimes. I'm like,
Restaurant.
That is a weird one.
it's like it's-
Tarrant.
R-E-S-T-A-U-R-A-N-T.
Yeah.
See, I would have spelled it wrong.
There's
the
the A and the U I sometimes get mixed up.
Restaurant. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Scott was saying that definitely and defiantly he messes
Yes.
up a lot.
every time.
I
Oh,
did
gosh,
too
yes.
until one day. I think I was working, I was a working adult, and I kept messing it up. And finally, I was like, "Okay, enough." And I trained my fingers to go deaf in Italy, and then I just I had because I was sick of it.
I'm
And
done.
after that, I got it. But it's you have those things that you get stuck on, and it's doesn't lock in your brain. And it's weird. I thought about that too because. With math or any learning thing, I remember now when I'm going through it as a parent or even as an adult that would like to learn,
Mm-hmm.
when you're an adult, it's almost fun
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
to learn things. Kids don't have that, and you
No.
don't remember that. But back in the day, I would just I was floating along.
Mm-hmm.
I'd memorize stuff for a test, and then I would promptly forget it because
Oh,
who
absolutely.
cares?
Hey, just trying to get by.
Yes.
Trying to pass. That's the problem. It's okay, let's just get it to pass. Get it to pass instead of doing it to learn.
To
Just
learn.
pay off. Well, that's why I always like learning, why am I learning something?
Yes.
And I do this now all the time with our boss of why are we doing this?
Yeah.
And he explains it. I'm like, oh my God, I enjoy doing it now because actually, I see it has a bigger purpose than just doing it.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't like just doing something for no reason.
Yeah.
Right.
Who does?
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
And I feel like for me, that would have made, because I didn't understand this about history until I got to college when I had this really great history professor that I talked about a few podcasts ago, where he made me understand that everything that we do comes from somewhere in history,
Yeah.
like the fashion, the culture, the way we say things. If history would have been explained in that context, when we did world history, U.S. history, I feel like I would have been ooh, girl, this is just one big soap opera with people getting mad at each other over stupid things.
Yeah.
But it'll change the course of history.
Yeah.
And so now I love learning about history, like the podcast I've been talking about for years now called Business Wars, where
Mhm.
they go back and forth. It's just so interesting where you walk into Chick-fil-A or KFC or Popeyes, but you don't realize this crazy ass history that got all of these businesses to get
Yep.
to where they are now.
Mhm.
And to me, it's so fascinating. But if they would have said it in that context, it would have been way more fascinating back in the day.
I know. And you have a couple teachers that stick out that have done that for you.
Yes.
That's why I'm so well versed in, like, of all things, Greek mythology. Because we had a social studies teacher. That's where we were doing a segment on Greek mythology and social studies in 6th grade. And I had Mrs. Hershik, and she would come in every day dressed legit like a different character.
Yes.
And it was, at first we were like, what is she doing? And then we were like, what's next? And like,
You'd
she
love
would
it.
lay it out like it was, you know, you were watching something amazing, and like everything stuck. And we did presentations and we got to dress up like, don't remember much of anything else now.
No.
But that, I was like, I got it. So I wish that, that's all. What's
I'm
the
gonna say
what's the
that.
question?
Oh, I will say that. Right. This podcast is going to be a little short today because I had my first vaccine yesterday, and I am struggling today. So
Wow.
I just want to like go and lay in the bed. I'm just like I'm not sick, but it's your body.
It's your body reacting.
Right,
Your
and
body's fighting right now, learning.
It is, and it's a good thing. Like the articles I've read, because when my mom got her shot, she was like freaking out. She's like, I don't feel well. And I'm like, that's a good thing. Like,
Yeah.
I read that if you have a reaction like my body's having right now, that means it's good. Like the antibodies are creating themselves, and so it's going to be great if I ever come into contact with, and by when, but whatever. You get it.
You got the brain fog.
Nice, girl. It's happening. Here's the question we got from, we always call her our ghost producer, Ginny, and I always mess up her last name.
Utrovska.
Yes. She said,
Utrovska.
Yes, whatever you said, Holly.
Yeah.
We love you, Ginny. I had posted that St. Pete Pride this year, they're doing Pride over 4 weeks this year.
Yeah.
And Holly, I feel like this is going to be a question for you and for you, Scott. You know, the three of us work together.
Oh.
She said, hey, Miguel, ghost producer here, requesting a podcast topic or conversation. As an ally of the LGBTQ plus community and not a radio host or personality, what is the best way to show up to a Pride event without centering myself and appropriating? Of course, there is not one answer, and I ask this understanding, knowing all gay/queer persons are not a monolith. Believe me, it's cringy to type out, but I guess it would be a great combo to have and get your take, or possibly that of your close friends as well. Usually it's easiest to start with what do you not want to see or not appropriate from others. So, Holly, you have hosted Pride parades with me for years now.
Yeah.
Scott, you did it the last Pride that we had. Because, Holly, you were out of town that weekend.
Yeah.
So I'm curious from your point of view, Holly, through the years, have you ever felt that when it comes to Pride?
Weirdly, no. And maybe that's bad. But I'm not sure. So all right, let me think on this let me collect my thoughts for a second. By the way, I'm mad at myself for choosing this shirt because I was going back and forth between this shirt this morning and the one that said, sounds gay, I'm in. I almost wore that today. It would have been perfect.
Oh, especially for the video of the Miguel and Holly podcast.
Oh, it would have been good. Yeah. Okay, so I almost feel like, and this goes all the way back to high school, when our show choir put on a rent medley.
So jealous.
And I don't even know how our guy got away with it. I don't think anybody knew it was new. Like Rent came out in 1996. We were performing this in 97. So it was so new.
Right. They didn't know.
Of course we were performing it. Our instructor was gay.
Right.
Like he knew. But I don't think anybody else knew. Otherwise, they may have been like in 97. They probably like, we had a public high school in Cornfield, Ohio. What are we doing? But it was fantastic. And so it really helped me to feel like I knew these characters because they were my friends. And so that for me started, I think, my journey as an ally in the LGBTQ community, as feeling like I was part of it. And I'm not part of it, but I feel like as an ally, it's just innately something I celebrate, not for myself, but for you,
right,
as a member of said community. And again, I'm not a member of the community. Well, I mean, made out with some girls in my day.
Hi.
So whatever.
That's the plus part right there, girl.
That's the plus. I mean, I'm not gonna
LGBTQ plus.
turn down looking at some boobies. But so I don't know where I lay on this on the line. But I wouldn't want to like step on the toes of someone that's, got a story.
Right.
As opposed to my dabbling in who knows what.
Mm.
So it just sort of as a high schooler, it became like I just felt like these are my people. So maybe that's why I don't feel like I'm appropriating when I fully embrace these events.
Right. It's not like you only do it when it's convenient for you.
Right.
You do it all the time.
Well, it's almost like part of who I am, if that makes sense. And maybe
Absolutely.
like, does this, and let me ask you as an actual member of the community, does that sound appropriative or,
Yeah. I mean, and once again, I just always like to preface in these situations that there are gay people, Black people that listen to what I say on the radio, and they'll slide up in my DMs and be like, hey, I appreciate that you preface the conversation with, you don't represent all Black people, all gay people, because like Jenny said, we are not a monolith group for both, different types that I'm coming from.
Right.
So from my point of view, no, I don't think so.
Someone might think that I am.
Right. Absolutely.
And I apologize for that if that is what is happening, but I just feel so at one and so comfortable in the love of this community that because I was like, okay, if I didn't have you and we weren't doing things together, would I still want to go and like be part of everything? And the answer is yes.
Right.
Because I have friends and I would want to go see those friends and I would feel like we're all just celebrating together. Right. But maybe, and I don't know if this is the case for Jenny or not, and it may not be, but now I'm trying to think on the other spectrum of like, what if someone doesn't have a group of friends or whatever, loved ones that they could go and feel supportive to? How do you just show up? Like, for example, I'm thinking about when we would go to the Museum of Fine Arts for the Stonewall reception. Would I feel comfortable walking in and participating? I might not. If I didn't come up the way that I did and I didn't and I don't have the experience that I have now.
Right.
If I was totally separate but still appreciative and trying to be an ally of the LGBTQ community, I think I would start overthinking and then I wouldn't go because I'd be like, that's not for me.
Right.
But it is.
See, here's how I look at it. I think about like Eminem, who, he is not appropriating Black culture because he grew up in it.
That's
his
came up
culture.
In the culture.
Like if he came from this, middle class, white bread community where he was never around a Black person, and then all of a sudden he got to college and was like, ooh, I want to dabble in Black.
Oh, yeah.
And then he was like, I'm going to be a Black rapper.
I'm going to talk about hard times that I've never been through.
Right. And then knowing that as a white man, he has a certain privilege to where he might get pushed to the front and wanting to establish a rap career before someone who actually lived the life and wants to speak that truth in the rap community. That's been his experience. And so he's lived in it. And I don't know like if he's given back, but hopefully he has.
I know he's given back a lot to the city of Detroit.
Right. And so to me, that's when I feel like that's the line of appropriation. Like, are you just doing it? So like in the past, we've had businesses that have come to us because they know what we do with Pride and, me being gay. And they're like, ooh, we really want to market to that community. And I've sat in meetings before with our salespeople and there's a lot of money on the line. And I straight up say, and thankfully I have the support of our company. And I'm like, well, do you give back 24/7? And there are some companies that were like, well, we're comfortable with doing this for the gay community, but we don't want to do this for our entire, I'm trying to be very vague with the company. There was only a certain amount that they wanted to do, but they didn't want to show that they were super supportive to all of the gays with all of their clientele. if that makes sense.
Oh, like still kind of hiding some.
So like we're marketing to the gays, but
not
to everyone else.
all.
Right. Like we're not going to post that we're going to be at the Pride Parade on our main social media, but we'll just be there.
Okay.
Does that make
So
sense?
they want to put themselves in front of the gay community and say, we support you.
Yes.
But to everyone else, they're
Mhm.
like, nothing
Gay?
going on here.
No, what gay? And they were like, well,
We'll support y'all. Not
yeah.
publicly, though.
And they were like, the core of our demographic are people that are older and probably would not be great with that. And I was like, and I wasn't rude. I was like, okay. And I took that in. And then as we talked more, I told the salesperson, I'm like, I'm not comfortable representing them for Pride because they don't do it 24/7. So I will give props to a place like McDenton's, and they own a bunch of different businesses. What was the other place?
Do they own
The Yard of
Yard of
Ale.
Ale. Thank you.
Yard
Yes,
of
because
Ale, yeah.
we did Big Gay Brunch.
Yeah.
And, the first meeting we had before we did that 2 Prides ago, I was like, all right, if we do this, because I could easily take this concept of Miguel's Big Gay Brunch and take it to a gay-owned establishment. And they're like, no, we want to be known as a place where everyone can live.
Yeah.
Right.
And so that's why McDenton's in downtown St. Pete, they have that, or I don't know if they did because I haven't been downtown a while, but that rainbow outside of their businesses between McDenton's and Yard of Ale all year.
Yeah.
Because they were like, we want people to know that this is a safe space. This isn't like what we used to be known for of just being broy. We are a safe space for everyone. And then we will give back some of our proceeds from that weekend to LGBTQ plus. And to me, that is where you want to live as a straight person. Is like, you don't want to like take over and be like, hey, let me take up for the gays. But you come up, you show up, you support. And then where it matters, you help bring us to the table.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so then let's make it kind of plain in real world scenarios.
Right.
So again, there are all these weekend events coming up. 4 weeks of Pride where we're going to have different types of events. A lot of them are going to be outdoors, but a lot of them are also going to be ticketed.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm not me, if I don't have necessarily close friends in the community, what do I do?
You go.
Yeah,
And
I would
you
say
support.
Yeah, I mean,
So-
that's
But I'm asking sort of for Jenny. So like, does
Right.
she, because she's worried from her message about like, is it going to look like I'm taking over this, or
Right.
does it look like appropriation? And I almost want to say don't overthink it,
Right.
Because if you are thinking that way, you're probably not doing that.
And before you go, Scott, I will say that there is a segment of gays that get very frustrated when we have a gay bar or a gay restaurant and you have the gaggle of girls come in with the bachelorette party and they're like laughing and they're being loud and you sort of as a gay person feel like you're in a zoo and that they're there for the novelty of it. And they're like, ooh, let's go see what it's like to be gay for the weekend for our bachelorette party. We don't like that.
Right. Well, can you feel the energy? Because I feel like
Yes.
I have some friends. Like I went to a bachelorette party, but it was more like we were at a cabin in the woods. But she had, her girlfriends there. Her gay friends were there too.
Mhm.
I feel like if we had gone to like a drag brunch for example,
Mhm.
hopefully, I would hope you'd feel the energy that we're just going there to support that business,
Right.
those performers,
Mhm.
knowing vibe from some groups of women who don't have gay friends, but maybe they feel like they saw Will and Grace a couple times and now they want one.
Right.
And they just want to like, it's for the gram.
Right.
And
Absolutely.
Can you, as a gay man, feel the vibe difference? Because that hurts my heart that, the other group exists.
Right. Well, and it's sort of like when people have said to me in the past, like, ooh, I want a gay friend. And we're all learning together as we're growing. And, 10 years ago when I was 25, I would have been like, yeah, girl, I'll be your gay friend.
I know.
Woo!
10 years ago when we were doing radio, one of the segments we talked about doing was like how to get a gay friend or whatever. It was we had only come so far at that point.
And so now that I'm like, oh, wait, I was contributing to it as well. And I was playing into it.
We didn't know better at that time.
And so we're learning as we get older, and we're learning about what it means to appropriate a culture. And so I'm not trying to make anybody feel bad if you've been in one of these groups before, but now that we can look back and say, that really didn't feel great when there was a group of girls and they're like, oh my God, like, do you want to touch my boobs? You can touch my boobs. You're gay. It's fine. Well, no, I don't want to touch your boobs. Like, I don't want to do that,
Why are we making a spectacle like that? But I mean, then again, sometimes other things are spectacles. Like I will wear like I have it. I've had it for years. I get my rainbow tutu. And at one point I was like, is this too much? But I also feel like I feel so strongly in my heart, the love that I have for all of this community, that I was like, is it almost being, dampening my shine?
Right.
To be like, I don't want to support you too loud. Like you get into a lot of complex questions, but I think if you know your heart's in the right place, you go and you participate and you just are a friend.
Right. Scott?
I mean, that's a great way to put it. I think the word that keeps coming to my head is like the intention of it. Like you always have to just question your intention. And for me, I wouldn't even I didn't really know the term ally until probably college, when I got in and I met a lot of people that were part of the community. And I didn't really understand it until I heard their stories. And that's when I was like, I get it. This finally makes sense. Like, I'm all on board to be an ally. I didn't realize I was an ally before, but now I'm, fully for it. And I think everyone kind of has their own place. I think showing up somewhere and giving support, I think it's fine because that's something I do. Like, I'll absolutely wear, I'll wear a rainbow. I'll put on, like, for me, because I kind of look at myself as like I guess if you don't know me, if you don't have any idea who I am, I'm just this like straight white dude that can kind of come off as like, if I saw me, I'd be like, he's douchey. Like, absolutely. But
I mean,
it's true. I would fight me. It's fine.
Oh, no.
No.
But come to find out, you're not a douche.
But not that. But also at the same time, I use that to my benefit of like, I like to be the one, I want to show the people that are maybe grew up like me, that like grew up probably not around a lot of stuff about the gay community or didn't really understand it as much as I did when I was coming up. And I want to show that it's like, like you could be a straight white guy and support. It is okay. Like, I think the biggest thing for me growing up is everyone had this fear of being gay. Everyone, like, that was the joke that would always like, oh, don't, that's gay, man. Don't do that. Don't any of that.
That permeated for a long time.
For so long. And it still kind of trickles to today. And I remember going into USF and I had people like that around me. And it's slowly, as I slowly learned stories and I slowly learned about the community and what it means to be an ally, it became a lot easier to shut that stuff down or show that you could support. It is cool to support. We are all in this together. And then it became a thing. Like, I didn't go to my first Pride parade until 2018 when I joined on the station on Hot 101.5. And that was a whole different thing. And I don't know if I wouldn't even say like what I did was appropriating because I put on the whole getup. I had the hot staff like dress me up as in like wearing rainbows. I wore a tutu. I put it all on. But for me, I kind of felt like I was like, like I want to show that it's okay. Like, yeah, I'm not gay, but I will absolutely all day represent and celebrate that pride. I want to celebrate alongside of you. In no way am I trying to make fun, take away from anything. I want to show the other people, my friends included, that are like, I've never been to that. Is that okay if I go? Absolutely. You should be here because what we're trying to do, and I guess in my eyes, I've always looked at it, I'm trying to make it more of a thing where you don't look at it in like either wince or kind of like you're confused by it or you don't really understand it. I want to bring it to light. And that's what happened when I'm challenging people in my family, people that I've grown up with that have just never been around it. I'm like, like, it's okay. Like, cool. Like it, because again, I guess some people either have the fear that they're going to go and they're going to become gay, quote unquote. Oh, I don't want to
change you.
I'm going to change you, or I don't want to be viewed as gay. And that's the part for me. That's how I go about it. I'm like, I want to challenge your beliefs. I want to get the whole get up, post it on my Instagram, post it everywhere for you to see that it's like, we're all a part of this, like this community, to get to the place that I think I envision where, we don't have this discrimination. We don't have people, hated on for the way they live their life and their truth.
Mhm.
We have to all be in it together. And so,
And normalize it
And-
for the people that aren't doing it.
and
right?
that's why I really go at it the way I do. It's like, I just want to normalize it. It's like, yeah, I'm a straight white dude that didn't know much about it, but I got around the community. I learned a little bit more about it. And now it's not something I could speak on fully. That's not my place. However, if there's something going on, I'm absolutely going to support it because I want to show the people that don't understand that you could still support, and you start somewhere for it
And you go all year round.
all year round. Yeah, it's not something that's just, oh yeah, it's June, let me just show up. It's like, no, like I'll wear, whatever things I have, I'll talk about it. Because people are constantly questioning me, especially when I first moved in with you, Miguel. And it's like, now I live with, 3 gay roommates. And it's some people, and this is where the challenge comes, will either be like, I remember the question, like, what's it like? I'm like, what do you mean, what's it like? Like, what?
We have rainbow dance parties
Yeah.
every
Yeah.
day.
We actually dress up like RuPaul every day for dinner.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's those kind of questions where I'm like, that's exactly where my place is. Like, why you even think there's something different? It's the same way
Right.
where it was when I was in college living with, my 2 straight friends. It's exactly the same. And so for you to question it, now let's have that conversation.
Mhm.
But it's like that little bit of a, that's where I find like the ally is beautiful because you're bringing in people that never had a chance to actually learn from somebody in the community. It's like the bridge. It's like,
Right.
okay, I took a step. I'm going to help you take a step. I'll go in there and learn a little bit.
Right. We're like not different. We're like the same people.
Yeah.
So like when I post stuff on my like Insta story, like about anything having to do with the LGBTQ community and being an ally or whatever, I feel like I hope that it telegraphs to both people in the community that I am a safe space and like
Yeah.
let's go be friends,
Mhm.
or people in that don't have any experience in that area. Maybe they feel like I am a safe space to ask questions to, and I can help bring you to some knowledge.
Mm,
If you don't know anybody,
right.
I'll be the straight bridge.
Right. Be a bridge, Holly.
Get some knowledge, and then you can start learning.
And I think too, one of the things that I have learned as Abe and I have continued to grow together, and as we're, careening towards a wedding and joining each other, and, I'll be taking his family's last name and all that. I'm like, I want you to understand who I am and like what I believe in. So Abe has had a crash course in Black history.
Mm-hmm.
And he can speak on, not for, but he can explain if someone was confused about Black history and like, what does redlining mean? What does systemic racism mean? Because those are things that are very important to me. So when it comes to gay culture, enjoy Pride, go to the fun stuff, but then understand why it's there.
And do the work, I
Right.
guess, maybe.
Exactly.
In the
Do the
off
work.
season.
Absolutely. So like, why is Pride in June? There is a reason why. It wasn't just a random month. Go watch or read about Stonewall.
Yeah.
Like there's a movie called Stonewall, which totally whitewashes what happened, and it like centers on this white kid and his experience with Pride.
What?
Right. There was a lot of controversy around it. And
Okay,
it was
don't
like,
watch that then.
yeah, I mean, but it sort of like sets the table for what happened, but then know that that is not an accurate, like they tell this broad story, but like know that the person who lit the fuse. So what it was basically was Black back in the day. They had gay clubs, but they were underground because they were illegal.
Yeah.
And so what would happen is they would congregate. And then there was this place called the Stonewall Inn in New York where gays would go, and the police would raid it, and they would make everybody stand up against the wall. And then the newspapers would then publish the names for the people that they would report. And so then people would just get outed when they
can't
were
do that.
right. And so this just kept happening over and over and over and over. And so then one night, the gays were like, we are fucking over it. And so it was a drag queen, it was a Black trans woman that lit the fuse and said, fuck this, I'm over it. Whereas the movie makes it like, ooh, I'm this white boy who come from the cornfields. And anyway, so that sets the table, but I would say read more on it online about it. But like, understand those things. Like, why is drag important to the community? Why do some people not like drag? There are so many beautiful things about the community that you can read up on.
Right.
So as long as you sort of understand what the celebration is about and not that it's just a fun time to get drunk and to go see people, which speaking to Jenny specifically, she's not that type of person.
No.
That's why she asked that question,
That's
because
what
she
I'm
wants to
saying.
know.
Right.
But for some people who just go to downtown St. Pete or to Tampa Pride just for the party, understand what it is that we're celebrating and why it's important to have pride.
Right. If it
And-
doesn't make you cry, you're doing it wrong.
Absolutely. And like get incensed. Like this week, like I'm not a trans person. I don't understand the trans struggle. I help out and I appreciate and I'm there. But I was fucking livid this week that right here in Florida, they're trying to pass.
Shut up, Siri.
Siri, we're trying to have a discussion, girl. What you saying, honey? And our Florida House legislator just passed a bill to ban trans kids from participating in sports for the gender that they're like, this is what I am, and they're like, nope, you can't do that for a thing that's not even a problem.
No, it's not.
No.
That's what baffles my mind. I'm like, first of all, there are way more important things that we need to be worried about.
Oh,
Girl.
yeah.
Way more.
Girl.
And then they're all over here with their thing and the thing and I'm like, why are we spending so much time on something that what percentage are we even talking about here? Like, why it's not it I don't believe it's even been a big issue.
It hasn't.
When? For when?
Literally, I posted on my Facebook yesterday because the Tampa Bay Times did a whole article on it.
Yeah.
And hold on, what's the quote that I pulled out?
How did the Times do it? Because sometimes I feel like sometimes I'm like the Tampa Bay Times gets it right, and sometimes I want to punch the Tampa Bay Times in the face.
Well,
I don't know.
Well, I feel like it depends. Like this wasn't an opinion piece. This was just a here's what's happening piece.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so they talk about if Florida transgender sports bill passes, the NCAA says it could pull championships. But the quote that I pulled out and put on my Facebook page was the legislation banning transgender athletes from women's sports has the backing of Florida's top Republican leaders. Oh, wait. Oh, no. Okay. I changed out the quote. But basically, the quote that I had pulled out was that none of these leaders in quotes, could come up with any examples of why they needed to do this.
Then what the fuck?
Literally, they said when they asked, there were no examples that they could cite.
But that's what we're taking our time to.
Cool. Then, let's make sure we get that figured out.
Here we go. Detractors, including many transgender students and equal rights advocates, say the legislation is unnecessary and discriminatory. Supporters of the bill have provided no examples of a transgender athlete unfairly skewing women or girls' scholastic competition in Florida.
But let's go ahead and pass that.
And this is happening all over the country, by the way.
Absolutely.
This isn't just
This
Florida.
is not just Florida.
Right. So to me, when you say being an ally and not appropriating, understanding these issues and speaking on it. So I'm trying to think about how to say this. There are some people that I know that do what we do. And I saw something where they were talking about this whole trans bill.
Here in
Yeah.
Tampa Bay?
Yes.
Oh.
And they totally missed the mark on how they were talking about it. And like these are people's lives.
Yeah.
This isn't a Tampa Bay train wreck. You know, the guy who drove his car over the drawbridge.
Right.
Or the girl who did coke off of the Dr. Seuss's book. Let's laugh about that.
Yeah.
There are kids right now that are seeing on social media, on the news, that their state is banning them from wanting to play sports. And they're like, I'm not even trying to do that. I'm just trying to like live my life and like live my authentic self. You're telling them that they're not worthy and they're not valid.
Mm-hmm.
So when you don't take those conversations seriously and understand the consequences of what you say, that can be damaging.
Yeah.
Very.
When I was in college and when I was in Georgia, and I remember that 78% of voters in Georgia in 2004 voted to make gay marriage illegal in our state constitution. That stuck with me for years. So when we have all these topics on our radio show where I'm like, I literally at that point, I was like, well, gay marriage will never happen. I was like, I'm sorry, not gay marriage. Marriage for me will never happen.
Right. Well, it's true. And I remember in Ohio, they had a vote. It must have been, they usually do it in even years. Usually, I don't know. It was either in 04, 05, or 06. Because I was still living in Ohio. And I'm telling you, this is how far back I've been I feel like have immersed myself in as part of an ally, a part of the community. They had a bill on gay marriage. And of course, I took my happy ass to the polls and I was like, yay, gay marriage. And I'm like, this is going to be so great, you guys. And when the results came in and it was basically slam dunked into a no, I was like, that was the first time when I realized not all the straight people are on my wavelength here. I didn't even know how bad it was. And that's what made me a better ally,
right?
I guess, in the long run, unfortunately. But I was so disappointed in the other people out here who were like, no. And I'm like it blew my mind. I was like, I am so disappointed to live in this state. What are we doing? Like,
Right.
have y'all, what are you doing? And that's when I realized I needed to be more vocal.
Right.
And I needed to amp up my efforts to be a better ally and to be more. And that's where what Scott's point is, it's an ally to the community, but it's more of a reaching out to the straights to be like, hey, what are you doing?
Right.
Y'all, you need me to explain you some stuff? So I feel that.
Yeah. So it's a great topic, and I'm so glad you asked that question as we're coming up on June and all the St. Pete Pride events in a little bit. And it's just always something to me I feel like we could all do a little bit better of is understanding, like our friend that is transgender, that's transitioning from male to female. And it's like, I didn't have anybody like super, super close to me that was going through that. And now that she is, I'm like, well, let me understand. Let me read more. And we had a conversation the other day where I was like, help me if I say something wrong as we're navigating this together, because I want to make sure that I'm saying the right things and that I want to make sure that you know that this is a safe space and that whatever you're feeling, we can talk about and we can do it in a way that makes you feel good, because I want to lift you up.
Yeah.
Like so many people have done for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that's it. I got to take my vaccinated butt home and sit in the bed.
I'm hungry.
I'm hungry. I'm tired. Scott, what's your social media?
You sound like you're dying.
What's your social media?
At Scott Tavlin, SCOTTTAVLIN.
Holly.
Okay.
Radio Holly on TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram.
Miguel Fuller. MIGUELFULLER. Miguel Fuller on TikTok, Instagram, everything. Also, you can always send me an email if you want some Miguel and Holly stickers and be a part of the Platypus Posse. Send me an email with your address, Miguel at hot1015tampabay.com, and make sure to leave us a 5-star rating, please. We'd really appreciate it.
Yeah.
On everything, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen. Till next week. Bye.
Catch up with the previous episodes of the Miguel and Holly Uncensored podcast from Hot 101.5.
Just hit up the Hot 101.5 app, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts.
Search Miguel and Holly Uncensored.